Okay, here's a trailer rewatch, trivia, and fan reviews for 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. I'm going to watch this again and after I saw the movie and see, you know, if there's any spoilers in it or whatever. And just watch it for fun, really.
This is a memorial to the dead.
So, is this all you're doing?
It is.
Are you Old Nick?
Old Nick? You mean Satan?
Yes. Old Nick released his demons unto the world of man. And the world of man fell before the demons.
I remember details, events and people. The world had an order.
What's your name?
Mike?
No. I think your name is Jimmy.
The foundations. They seemed unshakable.
So it kind of like it's trying to like hint at that without giving it away exactly, I guess, that something happens with Dr. Kelson and Samson. Somehow it looks like he's taming him, and I guess that part's true.
Infected attack. What do they see? I believe the infection can be treated. And now, a leap into the unknown.
Yeah, it's just an incredibly made trailer, though. It does make it seem like it's something more than I think. I don't know, like it's edited in a way that it seems so kind of like hectic and crazy. But and then I do believe that like that scene is kind of representing the fact of like how easy it is to believe something and then it turns out that it's not real. Like that girl says, "You're not Nick," and he goes, "No," and then she's like, "Well, what is there else to believe? Jimmy's not a real god or whatever Jimmy thinks he is, Jimmy Crystal." So, but that seems to be kind of, I guess, what they're trying to, kind of the theme of the movie is that basically that thing, like to not believe in everything and like how easy something can be proven like not real, really, that like Jimmy Crystal's not really a god. The whole time the people think that he is, or his crew of Jimmys, and then in the end he's not. They crucify him like one, which is kind of funny. But then it turns out that, you know, Dr. Kelson basically portrays himself as Satan in a way, and then it turns out he's not. And so that's probably the whole, you know, cult thing of believing in something, and turns out it's not true. So, but I mean, the trailer is really nice. I think that it does kind of sell it as something else, like it's really crazy. And then, I mean, the story is very weird. It's a very weird story, but I don't think they do any kind of misleading like they do in the first one, where you think it's going in a different way and it doesn't. You know, like I thought they were going to find out that she has the cure, or she is the cure, the mother, and then it turns out she has cancer and he's going to help her die in a good, nice way out of respect or whatever for Spike and all that stuff. But this one seems to be like more straightforward and nothing kind of like if they had, when Spike is there with the gang and Dr. Kelson realizes or notices him, they could have done it where he doesn't notice him and then Spike is stuck with them and they leave, And that's like, if it was the first one, that's what they would have done. And then you would have been like, oh, I hope Dr. Kelson is going to find Spike and notice that he's here and he's going to save him. But then they get to that scene and then that's not even on Alex Garland's mind. He didn't even think of that. He's like, oh no, I didn't even think that Dr. Kelson's going to notice Spike is there and whatever. And you're going to be like, man, that was kind of a waste. Like he should have noticed Spike and whatever, which they did, which I think is why this movie kind of works out better and doesn't mislead you in the way that the first one, in my opinion, did. So yeah, good trailer. I think it's good for the trailer. I think it's misleading and doesn't really kind of, I don't know, maybe it does. Maybe it does kind of give you like, yeah, maybe that is it. It's showing Dr. Kelson as Satan, who, if you're going to believe in, those fake things, that would be something you believe in. So maybe that is like us. We're believing that there's a fire god, kind of a person in this movie. And then we, the same way that girl, Kelly, I forgot her name, whatever, or that's her actor name, I don't know. But the way that she finds out that Nick isn't real, the same way we find out that this character in the trailer is just Dr. Kelson doing a thing to Jimmy's gang. So possibly that's the goal of this. So yeah, good trailer for sure. Anyway, we'll check out the trivia now. So the first one is the Bone Temple set, the ossuary, was constructed from around 5,500 skulls and 150,000 bones, each individually cast and assembled. These elements were mounted onto roughly 1,000 vertical uprights, creating the temple's columnar structure. That is insane. That's why there's so many shots, I would say, to show their work that they did. Jack O'Connell described the film as the weird, deranged cousin of the previous installment. Okay. The film was announced as part of a planned trilogy, with Alex Garland writing all three. In January 2025, Daniel Boyle confirmed that he intends to direct the final film, pending studio approval. So, a trilogy, because now it's like 4 movies, isn't it? 4? This is going to be a, whatever you call that, a hexology, right? I guess a quadrilogy, hexology, I don't know, and then octology, right? What's a 8 one? I'm sure there's a word, I can't think of it right now, but this is so a planned trilogy. So what, 3 new ones? Maybe there was 3. This is 4, 5, 6, right? 28 years later, the Bone Temple 2, and then 28 years later, the Bone Temple 3. They're going to have to do 28 decades later. And then it's going to show Dr. Kelson as a big statue because he cured the world, right? I mean, I don't know. And then maybe there's a zombie again, and then they become smart, and then they come back, and then they reboot the whole thing again. Filming began just 3 days after the shoot for Danny Boyle's 28 years later ended. Interesting. To portray Samson, Chi Lewis Perry wore a full-body prosthetic suit. Each suit took 7 artists 6 to 8 hours to apply and could only be used once. So the process had to be repeated more than 25 times during filming. For close-up or waist-up shots, simpler partial prosthetics were used. It took them 6 to 8 hours to apply, and it had to be done more than 25 times during filming. That's once a day, right? You can't even get enough times. He would have to never sleep, and everyone would come back. Hey, he's still here? Yup, he's ready to go. That is insane. The other thing is this. Was it necessary to have that, to do that? Maybe it was important to show that what evolution is doing, maybe, something like that. We didn't see the character mate with anyone. You know what I mean? maybe, yeah, I don't know. The director Nia DaCosta stated that she deliberately avoided imitating Danny Boyle's visual style, explaining that her goal was to create a film that was bonkers, idiosyncratic, and artistically personal, while still fitting within the franchise's tone. Okay, but I like that, the iPhone, that look, that film, that, like the last one. It looked good, it just wasn't written well. As in 28 Days Later, scenes involving the infected use adjusted camera shutter angles, creating a stuttering hyperkinetic motion effect. That is so cool. Yes, that's awesome. Chi, Lewis Perry, and Ralph Fiennes became close friends during filming as well, according to the former at the premiere interview. Lewis Perry said Fiennes surprised him with how effective the older man was at working out. Wow. Ralph Fiennes said the film explores themes juxtaposing human violence with innate humanity amid brutality and the infected. Nia DaCosta stated that while the theme of the previous film was about the nature of family, the Bone Temple would be about the nature of evil, which would lead the next film to be about the nature of redemption. Okay, interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of cult stuff in it, of course. According to Ralph Fiennes, while Danny Boyle's direction in the preceding film was instinctive and fast-paced, with a clear vision of desired moments, Nia DaCosta's approach was more deliberate and meticulous, particularly in close-up shots, allowing actors additional time to develop subtle aspects of their performances. In contrast to the previous film being filmed on iPhone 15 Pro cameras, the Bone Temple was filmed using the Arri Alexa 35 digital camera. That's really cool. And, I mean, the look of the film is pretty important. I would have just kept that film. Like, I would have purposely copied Danny Boyle's film style, whatever. You know, like, give me the same phones you used. The railway scenes were filmed on the Emsay and Bolton Abbey Steam Railway in Yorkshire, England. Class 31 locomotive 31452 was hired specifically for the production. Early in the film, Samson eats a man's brain, referencing the popular zombie trope of brain eating, which originated with the Return of the Living Dead and later genre entries. That's funny. Jack O'Connell said that all the actors playing the Jimmies became close friends during filming, and they looked to him for wisdom due to his age and experience. Cast members released a lot of behind-the-scenes moments that showed a lot of bonding, particularly by Erin Kellyman, who had a popular post she shared on Instagram. Wow, that's awesome. That's really cool. Erin Kellyman and Jack O'Connell both trained at the Nottingham Television Workshop. Improvised dance. The scene where Dr. Kelson and Samson dance to Duran Duran's Rio was not in the original script. It was improvised by the actors during filming. That's what I'm saying. Ralph Fiennes, man, he's so creative. It brings that creativeness to anything he does. Okay, these are spoilers. Frank's taxi cab from 28 Days Later can be seen abandoned outside Jim's cottage near the end of the film. The closing credits feature In the House in a Heartbeat, the iconic score originally composed of 28 Days Later, which also appeared in 28 Weeks Later. Danny Boyle confirmed that Cillian Murphy will reprise his role as Jim for 28 Days Later in this installment. When the ticket inspector asks a young Samson for his train ticket, someone can be seen in the background moving erratically, suggesting that this is how the infected started on the train. Director Nia DaCosta said that Samson is something in between an alpha and a human, and she confirmed that his treated behavioral state is likely permanent. Wow. See? So he's gonna stay big. But that's evolution, right? That's technically, like, he evolved to that, I would say. So now he's gonna, wow. So he has like zombie genetics or zombie genes or something that could be passed on to offspring, maybe? What if they're going to get into all of that? The record Dr. Kelson selects when Jimmy Crystal and the Fingers arrive is The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. The title track, which plays during Kelson's theatrical display, concerns a witness to a satanical ritual and the resulting psychological turmoil, reflecting the album's controversial themes and artwork. So that had a point to it, but for the zombie movie, let me see. I guess. Yeah. Okay. Maybe. It is obviously Number of the Beast, right? 666. It says it, but I mean, the contrast of having the music to the rest of the movie. I don't know. You know what I mean? If you're watching, like, what is this? What is going on? Like, it's like a music video all of a sudden. But like, maybe it comes off as kind of startling and not placed correctly. But I guess technically it does have a point. The scene in which Dr. Kelson and Samson dance at Duran Duran's Rio was not part of the original script, but instead was improvised during filming. I don't know why they repeated that twice. After Dr. Kelson treats Samson's psychosis from the rage virus with the pills he had made for him, director Nia DaCosta wanted to portray Samson's mental improvement from the drug by showing him displaying more normal and calm behavior, such as peacefully walking through the woods, slowly eating a human brain, and enjoying the taste of a wild black berry that he picks. Him hearing the sounds of nature, such as birds chirping and the breeze blowing through the leaves of the trees, and him actually obtaining some type of garment to wrap around his waist to hide his, now unacceptable in his mind, nakedness as another symbolic return to normality. That is so funny. So, yeah, that's interesting. I'm surprised. I don't know where they're going to go with the next one. I just think like they're going to have to show the progression of Samson. Maybe he gets back to becoming a father again, gets a wife and has a family. But he's going to still show like zombie behavior, I guess, right? He's still got the rage virus stuff in him somehow. A startling murmuration appears over the bone temple, and Samson is later shown picking blackberries, both of which suggest the story is set in early autumn, likely September to October. Yeah, maybe. It's probably just a shot of, I think it was a bird, right? Over the top. And then the berries, it's probably just stock footage, you know what I mean? They probably didn't entirely pick, it's winter, so let's show some berries. It was probably the only thing that Samson would go and find are berries, not because of the seasons. And 28 years later, Spike has a Red Ranger toy back in his bedroom that he almost takes with him on his first trip into the mainland. The Jimmy that later saves him from Sir Jimmy Crystal in the film is the one wearing a red tracksuit, Jimmy Inc., played by Aaron Killiman. Well, that's funny. The Iron Maiden track Number of the Beast features in this film. Maiden singer Bruce Dickinson was vocalist for a British heavy metal band called Samson prior to joining Iron Maiden in 1981. Samson is the name Dr. Kelson gives to the alpha he befriends. Well, that's funny. Near DaCosta during the train flashback scene, seated on the left. Wow. That's cool. And here are the goofs for this 28 years later, the Bone Temple. Factual errors. When Radiohead's Everything in Its Right Place is shown on a record player, it appears on a single 12-inch vinyl disc. The album Kid A was originally released in 2002, 10-inch records with 12-inch editions only appearing years later. This makes the format anachronistic given the film's timeline. Wow. Revealing mistakes. On the night before the group is meant to meet Dr. Kelson, all of the Jimmies are shown asleep in the forest with no lookout posted, despite the constant danger posed by both infected and hostile humans. Maybe they're in a hurry. It is noted that on the night before meeting Dr. Kelson, the Jimmies, the cult members, are also shown asleep in the forest with no lookout posted, despite the established constant danger from both the infected and the hostile humans. Why is it posted twice? Anyways, well, there's not many of those goofs. And we can check out a couple of these user reviews for this movie. I'll do it a few. 6 out of 10. Should have just made a new franchise. Interesting. Okay, so not as bad as the last one, but in my opinion, it shouldn't have been attached to the 28 Years Later franchise. It didn't have to be that. It could have just been its own zombie movie franchise. Maybe just the Bone Temple. It's just a side thing. I think I would have enjoyed it more and accepted it rather than seeing it as a weaker installment of the first two movies, but better than the last one. I feel like it was meant to coast on the name recognition of the franchise rather than stand on its own. But now people will automatically make comparisons, and in my opinion, this doesn't compare with the first two movies at all. I might have given it a higher score if it were just released as a new zombie movie and not associated with 28 days and weeks later. All right. That's, yeah, you know, they could have done that, the Bone Temple. You know, dropped the 28 years later. If it had the symbol and it looked like it, people would be like, whoa, maybe they go and search for it. You know what I mean? 4 out of 10. Wow. 28 minutes later, you start to dislike it. Well, okay, it's not that bad. Actually, the idea is pretty good and acting is great, but the story's a bit strange. And where are the zombies? If they are that few, you don't need to live on an island either. Now that's funny. Yeah, there's a few, but not hordes of them. The beginning is totally okay. I had a good feeling and found myself lost in action pretty fast, but then it just slowly turns in the wrong direction, and it just doesn't find its way back again. The end is a disaster. Too bad. A good idea, but as many times before, they can't write a good story with it, but at least Nicolas Cage was not in the movie. Nicolas Cage? All right. 8 out of 10, Why Do We Live? 10 out of 10, pure gold, no remarks. Spoiler, I am going to read it. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. The first movie of the trilogy was not the best in my opinion, but I get to pass in my book for setting up such an amazing second movie. Yeah, okay, maybe a little bit I agree with that. The intimate moments between the Doctor and Samson were absolutely beautiful. Yeah, they were cool. I was so invested in that part of the story, and I want more Samson already. This is such an untapped realm in the zombie world, which having the virus only masking their previous selves. A Satanist cult got better in this too, in this one, and the reveal at the end. Oh, so do you think this is a sentence? Wow, I don't even know how to decipher that. 8 out of 10, brilliant. 3 out of 10, what a waste. Wow, they're all over the place. 8 out of 10, leap into the unknown. 1 out of 10, a waste of time. 10 out of 10, excellent film. 7 out of 10, very good. I saw in Severe 7. 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Wow. But consider well, 1 out of 10, not a rage virus film. Well, yeah, so I don't know. I guess it was better than the last one. I enjoyed it. It had its issues and all that. It's pretty good. I feel like this is a zombie film, you know, and it's more for the filmmaking part because it's kind of like more on the experimental side, technically. All right, and that is everything to do with the 28 years later, the Bone Temple film. If you want to check out my full review, that will be on my other channel and linked at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Comment down below about what you thought about this film and what your favorite bit of trivia was, and I will see you in the next video.